Yo, what's up guys, it's Super Chase, and today I'm bringing you my premium Ezel deck. This is probably my favorite deck of all time. I'm a little biased because I did kind of get into the game with Ezel. It was like the first triple rare I ever pulled. Obviously not this one, it was like the OG, the one from fucking back in the day, like 2013 or something, or 2012, I don't know. Something around there. I said that's probably where the bias comes in, but I'm a gold Paladin, man, what can I say? And this is fucking Ezel. This is the most gold Paladin deck ever, period, end of story. I think the deck is pretty consistent, but people think it's very high roll dependent. Depends who you talk to. But yeah, this deck is, I think, the most aggressive deck in the entire game. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into the deck profile. Okay, this is our starter. I just run one Kerf. You do need to run Kerf. You can't run Cole, which is unfortunate because Cole's a cool ass starter. This is a cool starter too, but it only has a freaking common copy. I'm like, what's going on? Fucking come on, Bushy. We gotta get this in a tree. If we get a revival collection, I would even want to just see these in one of those triple rare spots, just for fucking shits and gigs. Because I think that is a well-deserving. I mean, think it should have got an SP if I'm being 100% honest. But anyways, I run 4 Incandescent Lion, Blonde Ezels. Yeah, the main card of the deck, the main aggro engine. He's the guy you ride into when you ride basically on the same turn you go grade 2. You can make this Ezel card pretty easily in this deck because I run all the main cards you need to see at max copies. But I do love this rarity. I just think the Ezel looks so freaking clean on it. This thing looks dope. Moving on to more Ezel cards, I run 3 Ravenhaired, an amazing card in the deck, and I also run a Platina, a single copy of Platina, and a single copy of Scissors. I really love these two at 1. I used to be running Platina at 2 actually, and Scissors just at 1. I might, man, it's tough because this is the most tight deck I've ever played in my entire life, so it's really hard to make switches, especially more grade 3s, because I still run Percival, so we run a pretty thick grade 3 line, all things considered. But Ravenhaired's amazing. You can get that extra Axle Circle, so you see Ezel in your turn 2, and then you go into Ravenhaired as well for a single counterblast, because you usually will have a counterblast, unless your opponent's smart and just straight up denies you, which is probably what they should do. Because if you even give this deck a little bit of resources, it can just pop the fuck off. Like this, creating 2 Axle Circles, and you have a Percival. If you have 2 counterblasts and you make these 2 guys on your on the first time you see Ezel, I mean, your turn is just, it's basically wraps, if I'm being honest. It's basically wraps. And Platina's amazing too. I like Platina's because its effect is amazing. Its effect is really good on Scissors. And since we run Agloville, we can always throw this into Soul, basically. So it's pretty easy to make a Scissors with basically all the Ezel copies in the Soul, because not only can you just get there through riding them, because you ride on grade 3. Scissors is so good. Sometimes you don't even stride, because you just straight up, if you have all 3 of them in Soul, you just go into him. You do have to have a good amount of resources open. Like you have to have a counterblast or 2, preferably like 3 if I'm being 100% honest, because you want to get his off, which is the extra drive. You want to get Ravenhaired's off, which is the 15k plus a crit and guard restrict. And Platina is just what takes it over the top, to be honest, is the effect of basically being able to top check. You basically get to check 4 cards, and you get to put 1 in your trigger zone, you get to call 1 to rear, so you also get like extra attacks out of it too. It's quite amazing. It's quite the combo. I'm going to go through a couple plays at the end and show you guys kind of how the deck functions as well, making this a slightly longer deck profile, contrary to some of my other videos on this channel. Going on, I do run 3 copies of Percival. We're not running him at 4 because he's so good, and I run him at off 4 in like all my other gold Paladin decks. But yeah, Percival is just amazing. This engine is just straight up too strong not to run. The Blue Flame cards just work in they're just inherently amazing cards, and they work in every single gold Paladin deck. So God, like running it at 3 feels weird. So take with that information what you want. It's an amazing card. At 3, it works really well though in this deck because everything's so tight. I love this ratio. I've been testing this deck forever, by the way. I know Wonder Ezel's on the screen now. So this deck I do feel like has gone through a good amount of testing where I do feel comfortable in a lot of these ratios. I'm not just, fucking making shit up. But yeah, Percival 3 with the extra. Basically what I'm sacrificing here is running some of the Ezel cards, and you'll see that through the grade 1 line as well, sacrificing some space to make it for these Ezels. But you'll see what I have, because this is a really true Ezel deck. This is a pure Ezel deck. So I'm really excited to show you guys the rest of it. Moving on to the grade 2, I run Flame Wind Lion, Wonder Ezel at 4, just an amazing card. It also makes your Ezel play, basically, because you Soul Blast 1, retire, and you could go to town. And you get to make the Ezel play, and get to ride him from deck, which is amazing, because you deck thin as well, which is really good. You'll see why. All these things are for a reason. When you're playing a premium deck, this thought out, everything is for a reason. 4 Bowmains. I don't really like this card that much, if I'm being 100% honest, but it's what makes the Ezel play. To be honest, it's like a nerf to Ezel almost. Look, it's not that bad, to be honest. Sometimes it can be really good, but most of the times it's just meh. It's just not that. There's so many. Every card in this deck is like on that border of like being broken, it feels like. So if a card is just not like inherently unfair, it feels weak in this deck. For example, like this, which is a much better card than Bowmains, but I can only run it at 3 because Bowmains makes the Ezel play. And 3 Aglavale though, just incredible card. There are other Ezel cards in the Soul before we go into Scissors. Just a great card and can get a ton of power. Just a big powerhouse card. Swings 24 carat on an Axle too, which is what you usually see him on. This is my back row out, so if I have, you know, any floodgates running in the back row, I can basically get him out because if I have 2 more grade 3 cards in Soul, if I attack, I can battle all the units in one column, which is quite an amazing effect. I think super overlooked. I want to run this at 2. This is a phenomenal card. But like I said, space is super tight. Exactly what I was referring to. Bad Magus and Bowmains, like Bad Magus is a nutty card. I mean, he gets free power and he gets to attack basically the whole column, like nuts. Like this just crazy cards in this deck. Moving on to another great grade 1. This card is also really just incredible. Counter charge 1, soul charge 1. Yeah, I bet you haven't seen that in fucking forever, huh? GBT07. Counter charge, soul charge. You literally basically net positive off both of them. It's quite amazing. And this is the card you basically retire off of Wonder Ezel, and it works directly with our Incandescent Lion, obviously. Finishing up the grade 1 line, I run 2 White Lions. This card is amazing. It on hit of attack or boost checks top 6 with Ezel in its card name and grabs it. That's why I also like my thicker Ezel line, because it works just in tandem with White Lion, and White Lion's amazing. And oh, not only that, we can grab 2 of them. So you know how many times I see 2 Ezels off on hit pressure on this, or they just force your opponent to guard it because they're like, oh fuck, I don't want to, like, I can't take White Lion because he's gonna get 2 Ezels off it. It's just amazing. It's an incredible card, and the people that don't know what it does get fucking burned. Dindrain is really great as well. I wasn't running this for a while, but it's just such a great card. You just have to run, like, I'm just running like the best cards in the clan basically, which is Dindrain. Dindrain's amazing, and like I said, space is so effing tight. Gorbaduck, just in case we're in like emergency situations and need to see a certain grade 3, especially if we have our pieces and don't have Ezel yet, well, we usually can hit an Ezel off him really easily. Run 1 Malagant. This guy's really great too. Soul Blast 2, Counter Charge 2. Yeah, just oof, man, some of these older cards are just fucking incredible. And one of these newer cards that isn't is Gareth, which is the counter to Bowmains. So basically, you call Bowmains, you discard 1, you call Gareth out, and then you can make your Ezel if you have Ezel in hand. So you soul charge your starter, and then boom, you can ride to grade 3 on your turn that you theoretically shouldn't. So yeah, that is the last card in the main deck. Moving on to the trigger line, I run 4 of the card that puts itself into Soul. Pretty great card. So I run a 7 crit line, run 4 Halo Shield marks. Mark is amazing. Draw, PG, standard. I run 4 of the heal, grade 3 heals, another amazing card, standard in this deck, and a Keter Sanctuary over trigger. Bet you didn't see that fucking shit coming, didn't you? Because you think every one of these decks runs Ultima, which is fine. I get it. Ultima is a win button, and Ultima might be the better version of this deck. It also makes it cheaper, so who knows? Maybe this is considered a budget, you know, maybe this is, oh, fucking hell. Maybe this is, you know, considered a budget Ezel deck. Even though I don't know if I would consider this deck budget, but it might be. I'll actually explain to you why I like the over trigger. I like the over trigger for 2 main reasons. First, this deck does a ton of deck thinning, and this deck sees a ton of, this deck nets so many cards out of the deck and just can see a ton of triggers. So I feel like I always have a good shot seeing the over trigger. If I hit it in any deck, it's always in my gold Paladin deck. It's fucking weird. It's because so much superior calling, so much shit out of deck, you just deck thin naturally. So just your odds, your numbers of hitting more triggers is just higher. And the main effect is Ultima's in the extra deck, correct? It's in the extra deck. It sits here. It's a win button, no doubt, but it's a win button on turn 4 at the very earliest. Look, the over trigger has defensive capabilities and unbelievable offensive capabilities, and if there's an argument to run this Keter over trigger in any deck over Ultima, in my opinion, and this is such a fucking hot take because people think it's the opposite, in my opinion, it's this deck. Because if you resolve, and the only reason why is because if you resolve that fucking over trigger, there, in my opinion, is no other deck that can Axle charge this fast, that can call as many units as this deck can. This deck can superior call up the fucking ass all game long, with no problem. Like literally, I'll like have a no field going into my passing my turn because I'll just Aglavale scoop everything up. Like because I'll throw 3 things into soul, 3 Aglavales bounce back to hand. There goes this 7-unit field to a 1-unit field, right? But yeah, I have 0 issues building a board in this deck for obvious reasons, because we run cards like Spear-X and we run cards like Percival and like that just net you so many cards, and going into an Axel 2 also just gives you draws. I just think, honestly, I think Axel clans are just fucking insane. If that wasn't already obvious enough on my channel with all my deck profiles, Lamau. Anyways, I got some circles here. Moving on to the extra deck. I like this card more and more. There's games where you literally can't even make this, and there's also games you literally want to go into this on your first ride. It is very, I wouldn't say very situational. I would just say it's situational. It comes up a good amount. I would say it comes up like maybe every like 3 or 4 games. So 1 copy of Advarius, put it on top because it was like, you know, it's the new card in town. Spear-X Dragon, running him at 3, amazing card, builds a support for nothing. I run 2 Brambent, good pressure card as well. I run 4 Helios. Helios is still a cool card. It gets us that extra drive. It can add some pressure too. Really good closer if we need him. Golden Dragon, Glorious Raining Dragons, I run them at 2. Great card as well. And for the G-Guards, I run 3 copies of Slimy Flare and a Cray Elemental. That just about does it for the extra deck. Some theory behind some of this. We got our closers. We don't go into these as much. If you want me to be 100% honest, we usually just go into... We usually win the game off Spear-X because we go into Spear-X and, you know what? I'll just show you. All right, post-production Super Chase. We're here doing a test hand right now. As you see, I'm drawing 5. I'm going to put 3 back, 4 back, it looks like. Kind of bricked, fat brick right there. See an Ezel, see a Howl. Okay, turned into a little bit of a good hand. We draw another. We're going into our turn 1. I think I'm going first this game. I am. So we're just going first. We're going to pass turn. We're going to take a damage. We go to 17k Vanguard. So I'm assuming we're not going to take another. We're going to go on Bowmains, pitch, get the Gareth. Pretty staple play. Pitch the Kerf, and then go into the Ezel play. So our opponent is on grade 1, and we're already on grade 3. Luckily, they gave us a damage. We draw off the Axel 2, so now we can go into Percival. Pitching Bowmains, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, to go into... to get another Axel Circle, and then go into an Aglavale, or Superior Call and Aglavale, off of Percival effects, which just makes this turn so devastating. Just really, really good. It's you know what this deck really is? It's the Ezel Bluish Flame that just absolutely takes over the top. I try to tell you in the deck profile, or, you know, how lucrative kind of Percival of a card he is, and how unsure I am just even to run him at 3 because he's so good. But as you see, we're making plays. I'm calling off Ezel. Or actually, I haven't called off Ezel yet. I'm lost the card right there. Looks like I attack a Percival, do the Aglavale play, and then go in to call another Aglavale to then throw another Ezel into Soul. We see a Raven-haired, then I make the Aglavale play again, so double 24k attack on top of the Percival, on top of the Ezel attack, on top of the Vanguard attack. We take some damage because they're only on like, what, grade 2? They're only on, what, grade 2? Yeah. We're going to our 3rd Axel Circle into Raven-haired. And look, I was like, I could pitch 2 grade 2s and make the stride, but I thought it would be better to just keep the Aglavales. And at first I thought I misplayed, but I was like, it's okay. I'm also playing against a Ghost, so it doesn't really matter. But I'm just kind of experimenting with certain shit because we technically could have strode there, but I think Raven-haired's effect is good too, especially on that early pressure, like an extra critted Vanguard with Sentinel Restrict. In my opinion, after a turn, we just like bopped you for like 6-7 attacks. The turn prior, you're on like grade 1. I think that might be more powerful than a you know. And then I also have to pitch 2 cards for that, than the Spear-X. But you see with Raven-haired, I draw again. And yeah, this game is basically closed out. If this is a real game, you've gotten blown out by this point. We didn't even have the craziest hand, but we saw Ezel early game. And if we see Ezel early game, wow, it's honestly, it's tough. It's tough for your opponent. It's honestly not just Ezel. It's if you see Ezel and Percival. Like, the Percival play is just so tough. It's so tough. Like, it's just super good. For a single discard, you'll get another circle, you'll get another draw, and you'll get a superior call from deck. It's just inherently powerful play. And you can see what I'm going to do. I'm going to call, I think, a couple more Aglavales and a Howl. So I'm pitching, getting another circle, and then going to Superior Call, another Aglavale. And you can just see how this turn just becomes so oppressive. With very, very little resources, very little cards from hand. We've made a pretty aggressive board. Every Aglavale you've seen in this video is swinging for 14k, or not 40k, for 24k, my apologies, because we're throwing every single one into Soul. I'm pretty sure I don't attack with a single one in this game that doesn't go into, that doesn't pitch one into Soul and bounce back to hand. As you see, I do the same thing there. And the cool thing is, look at big hand size. All right, getting into the next one. We draw 4, draw 5. Looks like we got some Ezels here. Gonna pitch 2 Ezels back, keep 3. Looks like we're not grade stuck or anything too. Okay, turns into a little bit of a fun hand. Oops, I gotta turn the audio off this video. I could hear myself shuffling. Interesting. It's actually kind of nice. Might keep that on. I might be saying some stupid shit though. So we have a decent first hand. I think I'm going second this game because I didn't go second. Yeah, I threw up the 2. I was like, yep, going second this game. Because I went first the first time, and I was like, you know what, we'll switch it up. Why not? White Lion will attack. Oh, I didn't even proc White Lion. If I hit that, I should have. But I assumed he guarded, so I didn't get that huge plus, which would have been nutty. Hit an over trigger, drew off that, and then stood and drew. I think we go into Aglaville here. No, we go into Wonder Ezel, I think. Yeah, Wonder Ezel to make the Howl play, and then Soul Blast the White Lion to then make the Ezel. And then the Ezel comes in and just fuck shit up. I accidentally throw a Bowmains down there too. I'm like, what the fuck? Why is a Bowmains there? But I was like, wait, he is not supposed to be there. So threw him back in. There that goes. Now we have our Ezel. We'll generate a circle as well. Draw off that. And what do I do here? I honestly don't remember what I do here. I know I keep at least one. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is a great play. Watch this. So this is how you play the deck. So basically, you attack with Wonder. You use Aglaville's effect. So you're swinging 24k Aglaville, which is amazing early game, by the way. That's huge. You're going again. You're literally just going to do it again because you call Wonder. Then Wonder skill calls another Aglaville. So you're just going to do it again because you're going to make Wonder 14k and you're going to make Aglaville 19k, still protecting you from a defensive trigger. Because if they have an 8k trigger, it's their first turn. Or I guess they would be on turn 2. It still would defend you from a trigger. We're grade stuck here. Or, no, we're not. What the heck am I doing? We're not grade stuck. I forget. I played a couple games, and I don't know which ones I'm watching, to be honest. So I think I was just setting my cards so you guys could see down there. I ride into Ezel. We're going to stride this turn. I know that for sure. Yeah, Gold Garnish into Spear X. And then Spear X. You can always just, Spear X is just so good because he just finds your pieces at the end of the day. Like, it's just, there we go, boom, Percival and an Aglaville, just like sets you up for a great turn. Yeah, just great cards for nothing too. I mean, a Soul Blast, like, look at, we're getting all this shit. We've only spent, what, a single Soul Blast, a ditch, and a Counter Blast, and we're about to draw, and then Spear Call, another Aglaville. And Aglaville is just the best rearguard in this deck, basically. It does everything. It replenishes soul, it bounces back to hand, it gets tons of power. Ooh, man, Aglavilles. I feel like it's such a good card that even like the triple rare, I'm curious of the pricing long term on Aglaville. I think you should get your copies now if you do want to pick up this deck, because I think people are starting to realize like this deck is just really great in every format, by the way, too, even in obviously in V. Yeah, you can see I'm calling out a field here. I'm calling some triggers. I'm just showing you an early game rush. This is if I'm pushing for game. So now Van's swinging 47. I draw 2, which is great, and I draw 2 normal units. So yeah, triggers were just stacked, like I was saying in the deck profile. Boom, draw, and boom, a crit. And guys, I'd be shuffling these decks so heavy in between takes too. Like, you guys have no idea. I'm trying to bring you guys like the most organic shit. And you see we're just swinging 19k Aglaville, 24k Aglaville, 24k Aglaville, boom. And these are all accompanied by one other attack because we're throwing a unit into soul. So just nutty, massive hand size, incredible aggro. And yeah, for what? As a counter blast, a soul blast. We're chilling for our guard turn. We have a ton of guard. It's great. This deck is explosive firepower. Ezel premium, baby.